What is going on, guys? Rewinds here, and in this video I'm going to be bringing you guys the full spoilers slash full summary for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Manga chapter number 17. So unfortunately, we do not really have any raw scans out this month. So unfortunately, there's no panels to show, at least not as of right now. And typically I would do something where I would at least show some of the panels in some of my videos for spoilers that I typically do, but doesn't look like that's going to be happening this month. But I do always make one of these full spoiler, full summary videos as well each month. So we're going to be doing the full spoilers right now and pretty much going over what we got and, discussing it a little bit as well. So shout out to Felix for translating all of this. We pretty much have about 8 pages worth of content for the full spoilers, so we're gonna run through that and see what's going on in this chapter. So first things first, the chapter is titled A Newborn Wild Beast. So a little different from the title I had in the last video. I do want to say, as you guys can see, he spelt chapter wrong too. I want to say take this with a grain of salt when it comes to the spoilers, when it comes to the exact wording of some things, because some wording things can change when the official translations come out. But this is probably the best we're going to get as of right now, and this is someone I've used for spoilers for the last couple months, so you guys can trust that he's at least decently on the right note when it comes to how accurate he is. So I'm saying this because I know I had some new people in my last video as well saying that, oh, the spoilers I'm talking about are fake, but I don't really cover fake spoilers. I usually stick to, the couple of the same people that do leaks across, the last few months and, the last few years that I've been doing this. So just be reassured that these are pretty spot on. So let's talk. So to start off the chapter, Sumire over here, we got her talking about, what about it, Sarada? Did you try to think about me when you did that in front of me? And that's pretty much referring to that whole confrontation Sumire had with Sarada in the last chapter. So I wonder if they're flashing back to it or something. And it could be Sarada thinking about it, because we have another part that says Sumire saying, how about you try and think about it, Boruto's feelings. And we have another part of Sumire saying, do you think he enjoys doing this? There are things he wants to talk with, but he can't. Did you ever try to put yourself in his shoes, the pain he's feeling? So yes, this is just flashing back. This is probably most likely Sarada just thinking back. And one more part from Sumire, not just Boruto's, but my feelings too. So yeah, this is just Sarada distracted right now thinking about all this. So then we have Matsuri talking, and Matsuri saying we should be able to use the tree's voices. That way we should be able to find Boruto and his friends. Matsuri also says Boruto was the one who dropped that frog here. The tree said it so. He's here, no mistake about it. So this is kind of a bait strategy in a way, because Boruto, yes, could have done that, but this could all be part of Kashin Koji's plan as well. So I feel like that's something that we need to think about, because Kashin Koji is very involved with these future visions that he's seeing and such. So Ryu says, the trees here in this desert? So Ryu's questioning it. Matsuri says there are trees everywhere, even underground. And that, kind of gives me personally at least some Zetsu vibes going on here, because Zetsu was around pretty much everywhere in Naruto Shippuden, pretty much throughout the whole Naruto manga run. So Zetsu is kind of, the trees are sounding a little similar to that. Yodo says they came here tracking Boruto. There's no mistake. Also, from what they said last time, I think Matsuri is a sensory type. Yoda also says it's just a matter of time before they know we're here. Konohamaru says, as of right now, it's just like the intels. Is everyone ready? Konohamaru said, what's up, Sarada? Is everything alright? And Konohamaru, it seems like, has noticed that Sarada is off because Sarada is, thinking back to those moments with Sumire, it seems like. And I also want to say, good use of Yodo right there because she does have the whole hearing ability going on. So it's good that she was able to hear what they were discussing. So they kind of have an idea that their intel is pretty on point. Sarada says, no, I'll try to focus. Yodo says, Konohamaru sensei, so if we can defeat Ryu and get this Thorn Soul, we can save Shinki, right? So this is them just inquiring about Shinki because, Shinki is their friend and their teammate. So we got that going on. And now we're going to cut over to page 2. And page 2 involves Konohamaru saying, yes, wait, hold on one second. Yes, we should. If the intels are right, at least that's why we're here. Yodo says, then we'll help you. Araya says, Yodo, please don't try the impossible. Yodo says, Araya, you think you're my dad or what? I'll do the impossible or whatever I need to save him. Araya says, Yodo. Yodo says, shut up. If you don't want to do this, get lost. Konohamaru said, hey, stop this. Arguing is not going to get us anywhere. Yodo says, sorry. It's always like this. It won't impede the mission. So it seems like these two go back and forth in missions, and that's kind of a common thing. And it also shows how much Yodo cares for Shinki. I'm sure Araya does too, but especially Yodo's giving that kind of vibe here, And Konohamaru says, for real? I'll ask again. Everyone knows the plan, right? Mitsuki says, no problem, although I have doubts on how it's realizable. Konohamaru says, aw, don't say that. After coming all this way, it's gotta work. Let's go. Konohamaru says, hey, you two. Who are you? What are you doing here? Ryu said, hey, senpai. Here comes the ninjas. So, talking to Matsuri. And Matsuri says, Sarutobi? Konohamaru? So, we got her pretty excited, it sounds like. Konohamaru says, we're just Konoha ninjas. We came here following a lead on Boruto the Traitor. And you are? Ryu said, it seems they don't know us. What do we do, Matsuri-sen? And Ryu says, huh, senpai? So, this is, Matsuri, from the earlier spoilers, we could tell Matsuri is about to fall for Konohamaru here a little bit, and I do like how Ryu's still referring to her very respectfully because Ryu is the youngest one, so I do like that he's referring to her as, his elder, which is true. So, moving on. Page 3. Matsuri says, I am feeling a bit strange. You talk, Ryu. Ryu says, huh? And Shikamaru says, which I'm guessing might be flashing back now, but let's see. Shikamaru says, listen, Konohamaru, we don't just need to defeat the Shinju. We need to get the Thorn Soul. That's the important point. Konohamaru says, Thorn Soul? Shikamaru says, you already saw it. The thing that appeared when Hidari was defeated. Konohamaru says, this? And Shikamaru says, return the Thorn Soul to his original, and it should be able to restore Moegi or Shinki. Konohamaru says, really? Shikamaru said, trust me on this one. This is trustworthy intel. Matsuri's Thorn Soul for Moegi and Ryu's for Shinki, but failing to recover the Thorn Soul means they can return to life as their will. As long as they have this, then we're just wasting our time defeating an opponent that can return to life forever. So pretty much saying that we can keep defeating these people, but if we don't get this Thorn Soul, they're just going to keep coming back. So the main goal is to get the Thorn Soul and retrieve it and give it back pretty much, or enter it back to the people that have been turned into the trees, such as Moegi and Shinki. So I like that we're having this conversation and Shikamaru's catching Konohamaru up to speed, which I think is pretty good and important, of course, for this mission. Shikamaru said, Boruto defeated Hidari and his Thorn Soul flew somewhere. Konohamaru says, wait, does that mean Hidari returned to life? Shikamaru says, it's highly likely. Konohamaru said, the subjugation of the Shinju and the recovery of the Thorn Soul. I understand the plan, But how did you get such a detailed intel, Lord Eighth? Putting aside its authenticity, it's far beyond what Boruto told us during his interrogation. So now Konohamaru is starting to ask good questions and trying to catch on, a little bit to this. And, with him being the Hokage's advisor right now and probably the next in line for Hokage, this makes sense. You got to show Konohamaru written as a smart character. I just need personally Konohamaru to shine in this battle too, because I don't really have much of a doubt personally when it comes to how smart he is for battles and stuff. Even though, in part one we had some moments where, he did have a couple moments where he was caught off guard and outdone. But he also had some shining moments in the end of that as well. But battle-wise and combat-wise, we need him to get an opponent where he can show out. Moving on. Page 4. Shikamaru says, "Sorry, Konohamaru. The source of this intel is highly classified information, and I'm the one who decides if an intel is trustworthy or not, and what to reveal or not to those who don't have clearance. Is that clear?" Konohamaru says yes. Shikamaru says, "Back to the mission. When it comes to fighting, I devised a battle strategy based on the information I have. Shinjus are monsters with very high battle power. They prey on targets like you and Sarada. Naturally, we see them as enemies and need to deal with them, but this is purely speculative on my part, but I don't see them as inherently evil." Konohamaru says, huh? Shikamaru says, "What I'm trying to say here is, I see them as like a newborn wild beast. Like the child of a ferocious creature." Konohamaru says, "A newborn wild beast?" And Shikamaru says, "Maybe they don't possess malicious intent, at least not yet. They're just faithful to their instincts. They are just pure like a baby is, so to speak. But what it is that makes them dangerous and a threat to humanity." But, that's pretty much what he's saying, that potential is what makes them dangerous and a threat. Konohamaru says, "So in other words, they're enemies that must be defeated anyway. What are we talking about here?" Shikamaru says, "Konohamaru, try to get along with them." Konohamaru says, "Right." Shikamaru says, "Tame them while they are just children with no malicious intent, and then backstab them. Are you still with me? Good. Of course, this is just if you see them as enemies. I know those are heartless means for those enemies, but don't let your guard down and finish them in one strike." Okay, so this tells us a lot about the strategy here that Shikamaru is coming up with. So it's pretty much a strategy to befriend them, or at least, get them to lower their guard so that they can finish him off with a quick attack. And Shikamaru wants to do this in one strike, but let's be honest, guys, that's probably not going to happen. Maybe for one of them, if anything, out of the two, but definitely not for both of them. And also, I want to say, now we know where the whole Wild Beast title comes from. This makes a lot more sense. It's referring to the Shinju's nature in general. That makes sense because I was thinking that it was referring to Jura back in the last video, but it seems like it's referring to the Shinjus as a whole. Also, I do want to say something. I mean, of course, we can look at the second half of the pages of spoilers that I still have, but there is a chance that the Damon spoiler about Jura could have been fake, because there was a follow-up by that leaker Rai who was saying that she was just joking, apparently, about that one. And I don't know why she would do that, but that might be something to possibly mark out, which kind of sucks because that would have been a cool plot point, but doesn't seem like Damon is going to be mentioned. But maybe I'll be wrong. I haven't read pages 5 through 8 yet, and I hadn't read 1 through 4 aside from just reading it with you guys. So we'll find out here in a little bit, and we'll know if that part was fake or not. Alright, so we're over here on pages 5 through 8 now, which should be wrapping up the chapter summary. And I did fix the view a little bit up too, so you guys might be able to read a little more. So hopefully that helps. But let's talk. So Shikamaru says, "You see, Naruto never endorsed this method, but I'm not Naruto. I proposed this strategy for the survival of mankind to defeat a bunch of monsters that goes beyond common sense." So I can see where Shikamaru is coming from, especially since Shikamaru is a very cautious guy in general, So everything Shikamaru is saying over here right now makes perfect sense with this character, and I kind of like that he acknowledged that Naruto would never do this, because we all know too, as readers and fans of the original Naruto series, and just seeing Naruto even throughout Boruto, that it isn't in Naruto's nature to try something like this. But Shikamaru, for sure, I can see it. Now back to the present, I think, where Konohamaru's saying, "I'm the squad leader, Konohamaru. Here's Sarada, and this is Mitsuki. What about you?" Ryu said, "I'm Ryu, and this is my senior. Hey, Matsuri senpai, are you alright? For real? You've been acting strange since earlier." Matsuri says, "I don't know." Konohamaru says, "Ryu and Matsuri, nice to meet you. Are you looking for Boruto too? Then we have the same goal. We're after him too. If it's alright, we should team up." Ryu says, "So what do we do, senpai?" Matsuri says, "Fine." Konohamaru says, "This frog looks like the one Boruto and his partner use. What was he doing here? We need to investigate this." Mitsuki says, "Master, there is a suspicious looking metal thing here. Maybe it's one of those Boruto uses to warp around." Ryu says, "For real?" Konohamaru says, "Something else may come out. Let's search the area. We need to divide into teams for this. Sarada and Mitsuki, you look over there." Sarada says, "Sure." So this is where the plan is coming into play. I like how they're executing this so far, and we'll see pretty much what the setup leads to. I don't really think we're getting any action, unfortunately, this month, but the plan is set in motion, so I like that we're moving on that. Konohamaru says, Your name is Matsuri, right? What's wrong? Are you unwell?" Matsuri's thinking, "I can't breathe. What's going on? What's happening to me?" Sarada says, "Ryu, I found some more traces of Boruto." Ryu says, "Seriously? Does that mean he's still nearby?" Mitsuki says, "Our comrades are searching for this area. Let's go. I'll introduce you." Ryu says, "But senpai is..." Konohamaru says, "It's alright. We can handle this area. Trust me." Sarada says, "Let's go. He's trustworthy. It's going to be just fine." Ryu said, "Yeah, that helps. The Konoha ninjas are really nice. For real. Just like I've been told." And Sarada says, "Huh?" And this is making me think, honestly, what if one of them has a change of heart here, because they're seeing that these ninja are actually nice. So what if this changes up their personality a little bit in general regarding that? I feel like that's something to think about. So Ryu responds to Sarada saying by, "Jura senpai seems to greatly respect you. He's our boss. To be honest, when we met, I was ready to kill you on the spot. But it was worth talking to you." Sarada says, "No, don't say anything scary." Yodo says, "Wait up. Shinki?" Shikamaru says, "Oh, and Konohamaru, there's a reason I selected you for this mission. Why did Matsuri choose you as her target? This is probably because she has romantic feelings for you." Konohamaru says, "Oh, this is too much." Shikamaru said, "I told you, be heartless." So Shikamaru is trying to get Konohamaru to be heartless in this scenario, and it makes sense why he chose, Konohamaru for this whole Matsuri part. It makes sense, and it's a good way to get him involved. So hopefully this works out well for him, and we'll see how it works out for the others, because we know the others, at least with Sarada and Mitsuki, are pretty battle capable as well. Page 7. Shikamaru says, "The Shinjus are enemies. Our enemies. Based on my intel, either Ryu or Matsuri will appear on site, or maybe both. Dealing with both of them at the same time would be bad for us. In that case, we need to separate them, but as friendly as possible. You control the area." Konohamaru said, "You seem to be feeling unwell. Shall we sit down somewhere and talk?" Konohamaru says, "So, have you calmed down a bit?" Matsuri says, "I don't know. This right here, this is not the real me." Konohamaru says, "I'm not so sure about that. This kind of thing isn't strange or weird in the slightest." Boruto says, I guess we're cutting over to a different scene now. Boruto says, "Ada, I want to know what's happening in Suna. Can you watch for me? Ada says, what about that old man? Boruto said, Mamushi is in their hideout. At least he should be. So, this is actually the first time I'm seeing the translation. Is the bug Shinju's name Mamushi? Or is that just something new that they're presenting? I haven't seen it personally yet in the other translations, but maybe I'm forgetting, but I don't think I have. Ada said, is that true? And Kashin Koji says, everything seems to be going just fine. They managed to separate them. Boruto says, it's the after I'm worried about. Kashin Koji says, Konohamaru managed to draw Matsuri in a remote place. Now Sarada's group will have to deal with Ryu, just the four of them. So next chapter might be a all-out battle with Ryu. And it's nice that the Sand Shinobi are involved in that because, I mean, that is their friend. And this could be a really good time for Mitsuki and Sarada to shine as well. So hopefully Konohamaru can do his part, keep Matsuri busy and distracted while they deal with Ryu somehow. And I don't know how that's going to go, but we will find out probably in the next chapter. One more part and then we're done here with this month's spoilers. So, not even a full page here, but it says, Boruto says, how likely are they going to fail? Koji says it's unlikely. So that's a good piece of news right there. He seems to have confidence. It's more likely they succeed. Boruto does say, though, I want more details. How likely? Koji responds by saying, regardless, you're not acting on your own, Boruto. Stay here. Just like Himawari, if you act, Jura will act too. And if he does, he will kill you for good this time. We can't afford to have you die. Never. And, you know, I get where he's coming from because, you know, the main hope of making it through this is, you know, Boruto actually hanging around and being able to survive long enough to take out Jura or help take out Jura in the future. So if Boruto's done, the timeline's done. That's pretty much how it works. The sensory team says, we have an intruder. We have a match in a chakra database. It's the Shinju Jura. Shikamaru says, don't move, ignore him, and don't bother evacuating the civilians and relay this to all teams. Don't touch him. Jura says, this right here is just a down payment, a deposit. So keep those aside for me. I'll get it back when I've paid you in full. Shopkeeper says, understood. We look forward to your next visit. And I find it so funny that Jura just pulls up to the shop like this the next chapter after Koji mentioned it. And the fact that he even has money, I wonder how he got that. It could be honestly a funny little page if they included it. Maybe Jura, I don't know what he would have done. I feel like he had to have robbed somebody, right? What else could he have done? Or maybe, you know, it was one of the people that they took out in the sand or something, and maybe they had money. I don't know. But he did have money to do this. And the final part of this chapter, Amado says, Kawa, and then he says, I thought it was about time you came knocking. Kawaki says, we have a lot of things to discuss, and the first thing you are going to do is remove those limiters and bring my full power to their limits. Chapter ends. So, honestly, from what I'm reading in these 8 pages of the summary, I like what I read. Boruto is still keeping up a good pace, I feel like, of actually getting enough events done in a chapter. And I feel like that's a very good thing because when I first found out that we weren't really going to be getting any action this chapter, I was a little more skeptical because I'm like, okay, are we just dragging before we find out how this fight is actually going to go or what's going on exactly? But now that we know that there's actually a plan that Shikamaru devised and that we got to flashback to that plan and see what it is and then start seeing some of it put in motion, I feel like the pacing is actually going pretty solid. So we got that end, and then we also had an interaction of Boruto and Ada, and then we also ended the chapter off with Jura making an appearance and also Kawaki pulling up on Amado to get his power. So honestly, we moved the needle on a good bit of things. Next month, though, I feel like we have to get started with this action, or at least some of it. So hopefully that happens, and hopefully everybody gets to shine. I want to see, I have zero doubt that Sarada is going to get shine. I just kind of get the vibe because Sarada is a very popular main character to the Boruto series. I feel like she is going to get some shine. And Mitsuki, I feel like, will also get shine here in this battle, especially since this is a Shinki and Ryu, well, Shinki versus Mitsuki rematch. So Mitsuki should get some shine here. And I'm pretty sure the Sand Shinobi are going to shine as well. So it should be interesting all in all to see. And I look forward to that. But that aside, I also think that we're going to get to see Konohamaru in action one of these chapters as well. I don't know when, but I think it's bound to happen. And hopefully when Kawaki gets his power removed from the limiter, maybe he'll pull up to the scene. I just want to make sure all of Team 7 hopefully gets some shine before that, though, if Kawaki's going to come in and steal the glory. But that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. And unfortunately, the whole Damon part of those spoilers earlier of him wanting to fight Jura seems to be fake, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, we are going to have to accept that that's not part of it. But everything else was pretty spot on from earlier. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the full spoilers. Definitely let me know what you guys thought of everything in the comments below. My next video regarding the Boruto chapter should probably be my review in a couple days, so look forward to that. But that's going to wrap up this one. If you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you guys are new. And as always, I hope you guys have a good day or night whenever you guys are watching this video. I'm Rewinds, and I'm out.